All right, folks, I just hit the start button and Daddy's ignited. This is the Dodge Daytona RT Plus. Starts at $57,995. This one is spec'd to $70,000. It's an interesting car, and one of the things that I was discussing here with a few others is if you drive Teslas and EVs and you're like really dialed in and into it, you're not going to be like that impressed with this. But if you don't drive EVs and you jumped into this for the first time, you'd probably be pleasantly surprised. It's very smooth. You're just driving a big old boat up the road. It's also interesting. It's a Daytona. I keep wanting to call it a Challenger because some dudes over there go, "Today we're reviewing." But it's smooth, and one of the things is the exhaust, the schizophrenic exhaust they call it, or the Fratstronic exhaust, which they say is just as loud as a normal Hellcat exhaust, which I have a hard time believing that. But I will say, from a distance, as we were watching some cars go up the mountain pass, you could hear them from a distance like it was a gas-powered car. So get on it full throttle, nothing special. My main complaint with this car is the fact that the throttle mapping could be redone. It's very like 3/4 is the most power you're going to get. You floor it to 100 and it's no different than 3/4. The cabin noise is very nice. It's well sprung. There's some, when you go over larger bumps, you get some reverberation in here, but it's not bad. It drives really well. It weighs 1,000 pounds more than a Model S Plaid. But it just does some things that some people just don't want to get in a Tesla. And this could potentially bring new EV buyers in. The number one complaint that I have is just the price. If this was a $39,000 or $45,000 car, you're having a different conversation. But when you're saying this is spec'd out to $70,000, now you're in the Model S range, you're above a Model 3 Performance. I just don't know who's going to get that. So it's going to be interesting to see what lease deals and 0% financing is in all these things. Now, you are able with these paddle shifters to adjust the regenerative braking. It has single pedal driving. It does have a power button, as I mentioned earlier. Has heated and cooled seats. That's all good. Heated steering wheel. And then the navigation system, wired and wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. And then there's various settings. The overall theme on this is everything is a bit laggy. It drives great. It seems to have a good charging curve, seems to have decent peak charging. It's their first try. So what can you really expect? And I think for their first try, it's pretty darn good, but it's just going to take them years and years to catch up. So, but yeah, it's kind of peaceful to drive this thing. It's a really different experience. I did drive it on the track, so that was interesting. I'll show you the track footage right now. So we got the Charger Daytona Scat Pack. This starts at $65,000. It's spec'd to $85,965. So we're gonna take this out on the track, see how it handles. The good thing is I have experience on this track with the regular Hellcat, so I can actually, see how it feels when I did that back in the day. Interesting lag. Like, we watch these numbers, it takes a while for it to get through. There's other EVs out there like the Model 3 that are so good at a lower price point. If you've never driven an EV and you got in this and drove it, you'd probably be pretty happy with it. I mean, it does a lot of really cool things, but they're just starting making EVs. So they need 5, 6, 7 years to be able to develop all this, but revving it up. The exhaust thing's hilarious. What's the retail on one of those? More than you can afford, pal. And away we go. But the sound does give you a nice visceral feeling. I'm trying to get the seat just a little bit lower. Yeah, my number one complaint with the car, you know, with us being in track mode, is the lack in, hit power shot here, the lack of linearity, I don't know if that's a word, in the throttle. It's like you go to 3/4 and there's nothing beyond that. Also, the lateral support in these seats is There's also a hilarious blow-off sound. You can feel the way, I mean, the tires are just fighting for their lives on this, but it's actually doing a decent job. Pushes right there, really likes to understeer. So they told us basically these can handle about 5 laps and they start to derate. I didn't really feel any of that. The battery temperature is actually still pretty good, but yeah, I mean, for this amount of weight, it does a pretty decent job. There were a couple times when the throttle would cut out because of traction control, but I don't know, overall pretty solid experience.
All right, so first things first, okay. Go ahead and put the car in drive, foot on the brake.
Okay.
When the wheel is straight, foot is on the brake, car's in drive. Then we can activate it by hitting race options.
Okay.
Activate drift mode. We are now good to go.
Okay.
So if you feel pretty comfortable, I'd say let's give it a shot.
Okay, let's go.
Go for it.
Kind of like how you did it. You smooth acceleration.
Move over this way a little bit more. Flick and turn. Turn the other way. Hit the brakes. So now you had a good initiation, okay, but your counter steering needs to come in a lot faster, a lot earlier.
All right, so flick and then come back quicker.
Yep.
All right.
No, hold on. Flick and turn in. Okay. And when the back end starts coming around, you have to counter steer in early. That's the part you have to do quickly.
Okay.
Try it. Gas. Turn. There you go.
I see.
Yeah. Yes.
All right. I see. I was missing that until I did it. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. All right. So now you see what the mistake is. Come in. Turn. Gas it. Now look to your left. You missed it. So your eyes went front and you turned too much.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go back. Let's see who else we got to get in the car here.
So the exterior on this thing, it actually looks a lot better in person than it does in pictures, especially this front end here with this clear opening. I love how that look, and the wheels and the offset they've done on this thing are really good. Now you're looking at a 275/40 in the front, and I'm pretty sure the back is a 305. No, sorry, 275. Oh, they must have a square setup on these things. Some of the track cars had a square setup, but technically they're supposed to have like 325s and rear. Regardless, this wheel looks incredible. And we'll go around to the trunk here. It is a hatchback. It's a little sneaky hatchback here. How do we open this? There it is. Look at this. Very clean look. Really reminds you of the Model S. You just have a ton of space back here. These fold flat, so you're able to get more space for like a bike or something like that. A tiny bit of sub trunk here, but not really. I think this whole thing It's all belted down. And then the thing that I actually like is the button to close it is down here as opposed to normally it's up on top. So you click that, there's a little bit of a delay, just like every other button on this thing, and then it closes up nicely. So it actually is pretty unique. And then it's a coupe, so next year the 4-door will be coming. So you pull this here, get that folded up, and then it comes back to us here. Now in the back, you have heated seats, you have your USB-C ports and some air vents, you got your pocket here. Again, I'm 6 feet tall, it's very spacious. You got the sound system, Alpine sound system back here. Nice little rest for your arm, it feels kind of rubbery, so that's nice. It is a surprising amount of space. Here's a look. If I put my feet flat and just sit straight up, yeah, I'm close, but we're slouching. I just spit directly onto the camera. There we go. We're slouching back here. We're sitting like this. And it's got a ton of space. For a coupe, there's a ton of space. You could comfortably carry 3 people back here. One thing I don't like is there's this gear tunnel here. The interesting thing about this EV is they're building it as an EV first. They're going to do a gas variant of this in the later part of 2025, which I've never heard of that. So that's going to be interesting to see how they sell head to head. I also like that this little pattern here kind of reminds me like the end screen of Spider-Man. Like, I don't know what I'm saying. So for opening the door, it's this button right here, and then there's an emergency pull right here. So that's how you do all that. You have your seat settings right here. I'm a little too zoomed in. Okay, let's zoom it in more. Dummy. Okay, there we go. There we go. So this is kind of what the door panel looks like. This is not what you think it is, but overall, there was just a ton of negativity around this thing. I saw it in the comments on social media, and then there's a nice Mustang right there. How about that? Oh, that's Ford. I get in it, I drive it. It's not that bad. The truth is, we make these videos on EVs and drive all these cars, and we're just hypercritical and focused on things that the common person is not going to see. Really, all I run into as far as a bad thing with this car is the cost. However, I think that's quickly going to change once they hit dealerships. I think incentives will hit. There'll be crazy lease deals on these. It does qualify for the $7,500 incentive as long as that federal tax credit, as long as that is still a thing by the time this actually hits dealers. So I think it's a good looking car. I think it's worth driving. The cost is the main thing when you compare it to a Model 3 or some Kias or some Hyundais. You start to look at this and you're like, it does look cool. I love the sound. I like what they tried to do with it. It's just a little expensive, but for their first try, it does a lot of things right. The other thing that's well done here are the drive modes. So you have Power Shot here, which adds 40 horsepower to the drivetrain. So that's a cool thing. For 10 seconds, you get that. And then you have your drive mode buttons down here that you're able to toggle through. So when you put it in sport, you can kind of see the screen changes. And then you also have more sound that enters the cabin. And then you have wet snow, auto, and then we're back to sport again. So that's how you get through those. And then these paddles on either side adjust the regenerative braking. So you can see we're at level 2, hit minus, goes to, oh, that's just max. So if you want a plus, it's weird. It minus increases it and plus decreases it. So I don't know what happened there. And it's also interesting, traction control comes up almost like it turns it off. I'm sure it's not fully off. But that's what it shows there. You also have creep. So creep is on. We're going to turn that off because we want single pedal driving. Don't want to be hitting those brakes. You can see the power flow here. You can see your driving history. And I will say these screens are actually fairly good. When you go to dashboard, drive modes, no, sorry. When you go to performance pages, okay, so you have all of these gauges here, and these gauges are actually really nice because you can go like this, and you can go into more of a graph. It's actually fairly in-depth. You get your battery temperature, motor temperatures. These are all important things that you like to see. State of charge. This is well done, and this is well done too. So that's what I mean. Like, there's so much negativity. I know it's not. Yeah, it's not no, it doesn't have full self-driving. No, it doesn't. Okay, I know, but for their first try, I think they've done a lot right, and if you have little experience with EVs, I think you're probably actually going to enjoy this. All right, let's put this pig in gear. Get in gear, pig. Whoa, I was in neutral. Can't even shift in auto. I gotta say, trying to drift this thing was an embarrassment, but yeah, it's just the acceleration should be more. The beauty of electric cars is that initial bam. There's a slight delay in throttle when you floor it and then it hits, slight. So that's not great. And then also when you floor it from a dig, unless you're in drag mode, it's not aggressive or anything that's going to blow your mind. And the beauty of EVs is getting that huge torque hit immediately. So I think that's a part that they can work on. I also talked with one of the chief engineers on this thing, and she was saying that they can do over-the-air updates on these to adjust the motors and how the car kind of rocks back and forth when it comes to a complete stop. You can almost feel like the motor's rocking on the mounts or something like that. You can't tell exactly, but some tuning that they could do, we gave them that feedback, and she's like, it's like, yeah, like she's gonna listen to me. I think, she's like, where'd you get your degree from? And I'm like, okay. I used to eat crayons. You got the nice sunroof, you got a great sound system. We tested it with a Millie. And it has these drift modes that I was trying to attempt to do. It was fairly nice on track. Not that I doubt many people are gonna be taking this to the track, but we did it. They said at about 5 laps it could start to get overheat, but I didn't see that. We did 5 laps, I didn't see it overheat or anything like that. So I don't know, give it a try. If you've never driven an EV, you should. Essentially what's going to happen with EVs, and I know there's a huge fight with our generation and we don't want that. There's a generation of kids coming that don't care. They've never even driven a BMW M3 or an M2 or you know, all of the classic, an Evo, STI, all these classic great drivers cars that are gone and dying now. They're not even gonna know what it was like to drive those. So EVs are going to take over, and it doesn't really even matter what we have to say. So you have to embrace it, give them the best feedback you have, and we're gonna enjoy the gas cars. We are going to be able to enjoy the gas cars that are still around, and that's really all you can do, because it's coming, folks, and I'm just the messenger, okay? What I'd like to say to Dodge is, nice job. I know, yeah, it's not perfect when you compare it to the stuff that's out there. Tesla's miles ahead of everyone, but there's people who don't want to buy that brand. They're loyal to Dodge, and I think they've done a nice job with this up front with lots of room for improvement. To get this from a base price of $57,995 all the way up to $70,970, they've added a few things. So it has the RT Stage 1 496 horsepower tune on it, which is $1,600. It also has a Plus group, which is $5,000. That includes exterior mirror lamps with logo, bifunctional LED reflector headlamps, high beam headlamps control, illuminated door sills, enhanced security alarm, windshield wiper de-icer, and a frunk. So yes, it has a frunk, but you have to pay $5 grand to get that options package to have it. This also has the upgraded 16-inch color driver display, map in cluster display, and 8-way power adjustable front passenger seat. It has a surround view camera system, wireless charging pad, and the blacktop package, which is these beautiful 20-inch by 10-inch dark finish aluminum wheels. It also has the Sun and Sound package, which is the full glass roof, and the 18-speaker Alpine sound system. The one thing that I didn't realize while I was actually driving the Dodge and back in my Model 3 Performance now is it does not have route planning. So, and the throttle response in this thing is so good. So if you're going on a long trip, it shows you on your route where the car will die, and then you have to then go in and pick chargers that are near there. Not like the Tesla where you type in your net where you're going. It shows you how long you will charge, what your arrival state of charge will be, and you can adjust the arrival state of charge. And it shows you how busy the charger is. So if there's 5 cars there, it'll say 5 stalls being used, 12 stalls are opened, or whatever it is. It's just, the software in electric cars is so incredibly important, and it's lacking. It's lacking in that. So that's just another thing to consider. Again, it's their first car. They can do over-the-air updates, but traditionally these brands are not great at sending these over-the-air updates. I'll just be curious to see how the whole thing pans out. But I did want to point out that does not have route planning, and if you're going to be taking road trips in it, that's kind of a big deal. Now, I also own a Rivian R1T, so you can click this video right here to see what it's been like owning that for 1 year on a lease.